Hi, I'm Pastor Sarah, and welcome to week 4 of Biblical Lit. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please visit our website at bayshore.lutheran.org and click on under Get Involved, Biblical Lit, and you can catch up with us. But this week is week 4, and we are reading Exodus 17 through the end of the book. So that's through chapter 40. So it's a lot of chapters, I know, and some of it's fascinating. Now, let me be clear. I can only focus on one thing in these very short vlogs, but there is so much goodness between chapter 17 and 40. If there is interest, say below, comment below, because guess what? Your pastor, she loves the tabernacle. Yes, this is a model set of the tabernacle. It is awesome. And I love teaching about the tabernacle. I love going through all of it. So if you are interested, if this is something that I will get more than, say, 5 views, I will happily make a second vlog this week and maybe even put this together with you. But I need to have some interest in that. So today, we are actually going to focus on Exodus chapter 20. If you haven't read it, you know what to do. Pause me here, catch up. Okay, here we go. Exodus chapter 20. If your Bible's like mine, it immediately tells you what Exodus chapter 20 is, which is, my Bible says, the 10 Commandments. However, I am giving you permission. No, I am telling you to do this. I would like you to take a pencil or a pen, and in between where it says the 10 Commandments, write the word first. It's the first 10 Commandments because God gave 613, my friends, and we don't talk about it that much, but God gave 613 in total. So the first 10 Commandments is what Moses brings down the mountain. So let me explain a little bit about that. Exodus chapter 20, you may have that in front of you, but I actually am going to read from a different Bible. I'm reading from this Bible that takes the Hebrew literally and translates it literally. So you kind of have to bear with me a little bit, but I think it'll help you understand these first 10 commandments better. So it starts off with verse 1, and like I said, this is the English translation of the exact Hebrew. God spoke all these words saying, I am, and I'm going to use the word Yahweh for the name of God. I am Yahweh, your God, who brought you out from the land of Egypt, from a house of serfs. You are not to have any other gods before my presence. You are not to make yourself a carved image or any figure that is in the heavens above, that is on the earth beneath, that is in the waters beneath the earth. You are not to bow down to them. You are not to serve them, for I, Yahweh, your God, am a jealous God, calling to account the iniquity of the fathers upon the sons to the third and fourth of those that hate me, but showing loyalty to the thousands of those that love me, of those that keep my commandments. You are not to take up the name of Yahweh, your God, for emptiness, for Yahweh will not clear him that takes up his name for emptiness. Remember the Sabbath day, to hallow it. For 6 days you are to serve and are to make all your work, but the 7th day is Sabbath for Yahweh your God. You are not to make any kind of work, not you, nor your son, nor your daughter, not your servant, nor your maid, nor your beast, nor your sojourner that is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in it, and he rested on the 7th day. Therefore Yahweh gave the 7th day his blessing, and he hallowed it. Honor your father and your mother, in order that your days may be prolonged on the soil that Yahweh your God is giving you. You are not to murder. You are not to adulterer. You are not to steal. You are not to testify against your fellow as a false witness. You are not to desire the house of your neighbor. You are not to desire the wife of your neighbor, or your neighbor's servant, or his maid, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor. Now, that is actually the exact translation of the Hebrew words into English. And I know it seems similar. Maybe a few things are different from your version of the Bible that you have. I know it is a little different from mine. There's a fascinating theological debate that we could also do a vlog about how certain denominations and certain traditions differentiate between the 10 commandments. I just don't think about it that way. I know that we in our Lutheran tradition, and especially in the Small Catechism, we have them divided up into 10 perfect commandments. I don't think that it matters that our fourth or fifth commandment might not jive with a fellow Christian friend that we might have in a different denomination or a different tradition, and that's okay. I think we're missing the point when we stick so much to saying the 10 commandments. The movie was good. But we're missing the point. The point was God gave these first commandments, and God gave them no such label. God did not say, these are the 10 commandments you need, and therefore you have them. But we've named them that. And God basically gave these first 10 commandments to Moses on the mountain and had Moses take them down to the people because they've now left Egypt and they need some structure. And it should have been enough. These 10 rules, these 10 commandments, they should have been enough. But almost immediately, without much conversation, chapter 21, we begin seeing explanations, if you will, like about slaves, about property and restitution, and about some social laws, and about, justice issues. And you said to keep certain things holy and certain days holy. God, how do you really want us to do that? And so chapter 21 and 22 and 23 are all about these additional commandments that have been given, these additional rules for the Israelites to follow. But again, the first 10, it should have been enough. But it wasn't. We're soon going to be going into Leviticus, and we're soon going to be reading through even more of those rules, those commandments. As I said, there's 613. And don't get bogged down in Leviticus, because there's some good stuff there. I'm going to pull it out for you. But what happened was, and I think this is human nature, the people of Israel began to question Moses and the judges that Moses appointed under him, the elders he appointed under him to help him, create structure and whatnot for the people. They kept coming back with questions. It should have been enough to know that you could not steal. It should have been enough to know that you should not murder. It should have been enough to say, hey, don't be jealous over your neighbor's spouse. Don't be jealous over your neighbor's tent, house, whatever. But it wasn't. And people kept coming to Moses and to the elders saying things like, okay, but he took my goat. It does happen. He took my goat. So now, can I take 2 goats of his? And Moses has to make a rule about this. Moses has to come down on high from God and say, what needs to now happen? It should have been enough to just do these simple commandments that I read to you. But it wasn't. And so today I'm wondering, in our biblical lit time together here, why wasn't it enough? Why do us human beings, since the time of Moses, why do we need more and more structure? Why do we have to have explicit rules on how to live our lives? Jesus runs into this too. It should have been enough for Jesus to say, love your God, love your neighbor. But it wasn't. The epistles are filled with Paul constantly explaining what it meant to love your God. In fact, this past Sunday, I preached on what love really means. It should have been enough for Jesus to simply say, these are your 2 commandments. Everything else hinges off of these 2. You're not going to murder your neighbor. when you love your neighbor first. It should have been enough. So what is it about us, my friends, that requires us to have as much structure as possible, to have so many fences around us that we forget what the core message is? God wanted us to love God. That was the first commandment. You shall have no other gods before me. That should have been enough, but it wasn't. And then God was like, well, don't murder anybody. That should have been enough, but it wasn't. Don't steal. Don't lie. Don't bear false witness against someone. It should have been enough, but it wasn't. As we go through the books of Leviticus and as we get through Numbers and Deuteronomy, there's a lot of history in those books that I want to take apart. But there's an awful lot of rules that were created because people like you and me kept asking for clarification and maybe hoping for a loophole or something. But those first 10 commandments, it should have been enough. So next week, we're starting, I know, the book of Leviticus, and I have some wild personal stories to tell you about Leviticus because let me tell you something, I love the book of Leviticus. So hang in there, read through it, or at least join me on these vlogs. And again, if you are interested and you want to know more about the tabernacle, because that's a big section of our reading this week, let me know. Maybe I'll make a second vlog. And in the meantime, God's peace, blessings, and love to you all.